Welcome to the virtual public meeting for the Pudding Creek Bridge Widening and Rail Upgrade, hosted by Caltrans District 1 and North Region. This virtual public meeting is occurring on Thursday, July 16th, 2020, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Before we begin the virtual public meeting, we would like to review several housekeeping items. Attendees are in listen-only mode during the video presentation. Please feel free to ask informal questions and provide informal comments in the chat section. All comments must be submitted to Pudding Creek Bridge at dot.ca.gov or submitted by postal mail to California Department of Transportation, North Region Environmental, E4 Branch. Attention Liza Walker, 1656 Union Street, Eureka, California, 95501. The presentation will be shared on the Caltrans Facebook page and YouTube page. If you are participating in this virtual public meeting, please be advised that it is being recorded. The project development team joining us for the virtual public meeting is Frank Demling, Project Manager, Saeed Azami, Project Engineer, Flora Barbash, Landscape Associate, Brian Bett, Structures Construction, Robert Close, Senior Right-of-Way Agent, Derek Goodwin, Senior Transportation Engineer, John Smith, Acting Public Works Director, City of Fort Bragg, Liza Walker, Senior Environmental Planner, Quinn Werman, Project Designer, and Jeffrey Wright, Area Construction Engineer. We'll begin by discussing State Route 1. State Route 1, or SR1, serves as access to the cities of Fort Bragg and Point Arena, as well as local unincorporated communities. All of SR1 is functionally classified as a minor arterial, and as such, it provides mobility along the Mendocino coast. Additionally, State Route 1 functions as the main street for Gualala, Anchor Bay, Point Arena, Manchester, Elk, Fort Bragg, Cleone, and Westport. Although SR1 is not a major route for interregional travel in District 1, it is an important route for tourism and interregional travel along the Mendocino coast. The highest concentration of traffic volumes on SR1 occur between the route's junction with Route 128 and the northern city limits of Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg is the Mendocino coast's largest city and a popular destination for coastal residents for work, school, and retail. Furthermore, communities along the Mendocino coast are a popular destination for non-motorized and motorized recreational travel due to an abundance of state parks, scenic views, historical sites, coastal access, and businesses tailored to tourism. State Route 1 is a portion of the legislatively designated Pacific Coast Bike Route, or PCBR, a bicycle touring route that begins in Vancouver, British Columbia, and continues along the coast through the United States to the border with Mexico. According to the 2015 PCBR Bicycle Survey, approximately 96% of travel on the PCBR is from north to south. Through District 1, the PCBR utilizes US 101 until Leggett, where the PCBR proceeds to follow SR1 down the Mendocino coast into Sonoma County. Similarly, portions of SR1 are designated as part of the California Coastal Trail, an approximately 1,300-mile trail that weaves across the entire California coast. Consequently, many cyclists and hikers frequent the many state parks, state reserves, and campgrounds along SR1. Purpose and need. The purpose of the project is to bring the Pudding Creek Bridge up to the current design standards by widening the existing structure and upgrading the bridge rails. The rails on the structure have been identified as deficient with concrete spalls and exposed and corroded rebar. The structure appears on the list of eligible bridges for rail upgrades and is identified in the Structure Replacements and Improvement Needs Report. The existing shoulder width for the structure is 2 feet, which does not provide adequate room for disabled vehicles or maneuvers by a vehicle to avoid a collision, adequate shoulder width to accommodate bicycle traffic, or a separated walkway to accommodate pedestrians. The image on the lower left-hand side of the slideshow shows the existing Pudding Creek Bridge looking south. The image on the lower right-hand side of the slide is a simulation of the completed Pudding Creek Bridge widening and rail upgrade. The image on the left depicts the typical section for the existing bridge, having a 28-foot wide roadway with 12-foot lanes and 2-foot shoulders. The existing raised sidewalk is 5 feet in width. The image on the right depicts the proposed typical section, proposing 12-foot lanes, 8-foot shoulders, and 2 6-foot wide separated pedestrian walkways. Project description. The California Department of Transportation proposes to widen the bridge and upgrade the bridge railing of the Pudding Creek Bridge located on State Route 1 at post mile 62.12 in Mendocino County. The proposed project would widen the bridge to accommodate 2 12-foot wide lanes, 2 8-foot wide shoulders, 2 6-foot wide separated pedestrian walkways on each side of the widened structure, and upgrade bridge rails to current standards. The project also proposes complete streets improvements by constructing the sidewalks on both sides of SR1 from Pudding Creek Bridge south to Elm Street and north to Pudding Creek Drive to comply with the City of Fort Bragg's general land use policy, requiring that any major development along a major arterial within the limits of their jurisdiction construct sidewalks on both sides of the development to the closest major intersection. Bridge widening and rail upgrade. Construction summary. A temporary access road and a temporary work pad would be constructed in each quadrant of the bridge adjacent to the abutments. The existing bridge sidewalk and concrete barrier would be removed and 32 pre-stressed girders, 16 on each side of the structure, would be placed on the widened abutments and existing piers. No pile driving or in-water work would be required to replace the pre-stressed girders. A 6-foot wide separated pedestrian walkway with pedestrian railing would be constructed on each side of the bridge. ST-75 barrier rail would be installed between each travelway and pedestrian walkway, and a new pedestrian railing installed along the edge of the widened bridge deck. The existing drainage scuppers on the bridge would be eliminated. Runoff would be directed off the bridge to bioswales for treatment. New bridge lighting would be installed on the pedestrian rail. Existing joint seals would be replaced and extended. A polyester concrete overlay would be placed on the bridge deck. Rock slope protection would be placed on the bench in front of both abutments to discourage illegal camping. Roadway and sidewalk improvements. Elm Street to Pudding Creek Road. Roadway and sidewalk improvements, Elm Street to Pudding Creek Road. Clearing and grubbing of vegetation would be necessary for construction and access. Typical construction equipment types for this work are excavators, dozers, and mulchers. All construction spoils and debris would be removed and disposed of at a permitted disposal site. All soil areas disturbed by construction activities would receive permanent erosion control treatments sufficient to address the erosion potential of that soil area and slope. The roadway at the north and south approaches of the bridge would be widened to transition from the roadway to the widened structure. The roadway shoulders within the project limits would be widened to approximately 8 feet. The widened shoulders would require new sub-base, base, hot mix asphalt, and a geosynthetic pavement interlayer. Approximately 3 feet of existing shoulder would be excavated to allow for the new pavement section. New 6-foot wide sidewalks would be constructed on both sides of the roadway leading up to the bridge. Sidewalks and shoulders would conform to the widened bridge and would extend from Elm Street to Pudding Creek Road on both sides of the roadway to ensure complete connectivity. Existing metal beam guardrail on the bridge approaches would be upgraded. New striping pavement delineation and signage would be installed. The beginning and end conform sections of pavement, as well as the entrance onto East Manzanita Road and Pudding Creek Road, would be cold planed to provide a smooth transition between existing and new pavement. Pavement delineation such as striping and round raised pavement markers would be installed using specialized equipment. On this slide is information about the first stage of traffic control taking place from Labor Day to Memorial Day. Work will take place during the day and at night, with intermittent closures at night during the installation of a temporary signal system. In the first stage of traffic control, that'll feature 5 nights of full closures of the facility. Emergency vehicles will have access during full closures as needed. This slide features information about the second stage of traffic control taking place from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Work will take place at night, and this stage will also feature 5 full night closures of the facility. Right-of-way and utilities. Most construction activities would occur within state right-of-way. Temporary construction easements would be required from 6 parcels and 1 fee parcel. Potential utility conflicts would be identified at the final design stage. Potholing would be requested at the appropriate stages to verify whether conflicts exist, and relocation scenarios would be determined during the final design stage. The City of Fort Bragg owns a 12-inch high-density polyethylene force sewer main located on the west side of the bridge that will be moved approximately west 9.5 feet to accommodate the proposed bridge widening. The City of Fort Bragg's water line that presently crosses Pudding Creek at the Pudding Creek Dam would be relocated to SR1. Sleeve pipe hangers or slides and support hardware will be installed on the east side of the Pudding Creek Bridge to accommodate the relocation of the water line. Environmental document, initial study and proposed negative declaration. This document may be downloaded from the Caltrans North Region Environmental website or from the Sequinet website. The proposed negative declaration provides notice to interested agencies and the public that it is Caltrans' intent to adopt a negative declaration for this project. This does not mean that Caltrans' decision regarding the project is final. This negative declaration is subject to change based on comments received by interested agencies and the public. Caltrans has prepared an initial study for this project and, pending public review, expects to determine from this study that the proposed project would not have a significant impact on the environment for the following reasons. The project would have no effect with regard to agriculture and forest resources, air quality, cultural and paleontological resources, energy, geology and soils, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use and planning, mineral resources, population and housing, public services, recreation, transportation and traffic, tribal cultural resources, utility and service systems, and wildfire. The project would have less than significant impacts with regards to aesthetics, biological resources, greenhouse gas emissions, and noise. Permits and approvals needed. North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board, Report of Waste Discharge. The permit application will be submitted after final environmental document approval. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Section 7, Consultation for Tidewater Goby, in progress. National Marine Fisheries Service, Section 7, Consultation for coho salmon and steelhead trout, in progress. California Coastal Commission Consolidated Coastal Development Permit. The permit application will be submitted after FED approval. Threatened and endangered species. To protect the most vulnerable life stages of sensitive fish species that occur within the project area, in-stream work would be restricted to the period between June 15th and October 15th. Construction activities restricted to this period include any work within the bed, bank, or channel. A qualified contractor-supplied biologist would monitor in-stream construction activities. The biological monitor would be present during bridge demolition, hoe ramming, drilling for bridge foundations, and concrete pours to ensure adherence to all environmental permit conditions. The pre-construction meeting with the contractor would consist of a briefing on environmental permit conditions and requirements relative to each stage of the proposed project, including, but not limited to, work windows, construction site management, and how to identify and report regulated species within the project areas. Threatened and endangered species. Artificial night lighting may be required. The use of artificial lighting would be temporary and of short duration, and lighting would be directed away from the channel and focused specifically on the portion of the bridge actively under construction to reduce potential disturbance to sensitive species. To reduce the effects of artificial light on sensitive biological resources, use near water courses would be limited to critical need due to accelerated work schedule to meet permit deadlines or reaching a critical juncture in work at a time when it would be infeasible to stop construction. Hydroacoustic monitoring would be conducted during any construction activities that could potentially produce impulsive sound waves. Hoe ramming or jackhammering associated with bridge demolition may be included. Hydroacoustic monitoring must comply with the terms and conditions of Federal Endangered Species Act and California Endangered Species Act consultations. A hydroacoustic monitoring plan would be prepared prior to construction that addresses the frequency of monitoring, positions that hydrophones would be deployed, and techniques for gathering and analyzing acoustic data, quality control measures, and reporting activities. Plant species. The contractor would be required to replace temporary barrier fencing along the boundaries of all riparian, wetland, or other environmentally sensitive areas to avoid impacts to sensitive habitats that occur adjacent to the project footprint. Caltrans would implement a program of invasive weed control in all areas of soil disturbance caused by construction to improve habitat for native species in and adjacent to disturbed soil areas within the project limits. After all construction materials are removed, the project area would be revegetated. Planting would be subject to a plant establishment period as defined by project permits, which would require Caltrans to adequately water plants, replace unsuitable plants, and control pests. To protect migratory and non-game birds, their occupied nests and eggs, nesting prevention measures would be implemented. Vegetation removal would be restricted to the period outside of the bird breeding season, September 16th through January 31st, or if vegetation removal is required during the breeding season, a nesting bird survey would be conducted by a qualified biologist no more than 1 week prior to vegetation removal. Partially constructed and unoccupied nests within the construction area would be removed and disposed of on a regular basis throughout the breeding season, February 1st to September 15th, to prevent their occupation. Pre-construction surveys for active raptor nests within 1/4 mile of the project area would be conducted by a qualified contractor-supplied biologist within 15 days prior to the initiation of construction activities. If any active raptor nests were identified, appropriate conservation measures, as determined by a qualified biologist, would be implemented. Prior to any work within the banks of Pudding Creek within the biological study area, the contractor would be required to provide to Caltrans for approval an aquatic species relocation plan. The comment period for this document ends August 7th, 2020. We welcome your comments. Please submit your written comments via postal mail to California Department of Transportation, North Region Environmental, E4 Branch. Attention, Liza Walker, 1656 Union Street, Eureka, California, 95501. Comments may also be submitted via email to puddingcreekbridge@dot.ca.gov. We have concluded the PowerPoint presentation for this virtual meeting. We will now accept informal questions from the audience. Please note these comments are informal, and formal comments must be submitted via mail at the address provided. Also, please be aware that this virtual public meeting is being recorded and any informal comments will be captured in the video.